Hello everyone. This video we will be covering ratio and rate of change. When we say ratio and rate of change, we will be talking about slope. Slope can be interpreted as either rate or rate of ratio. There's a difference between ratio and rate. Ratio is comparison of two values with the same units, whereas a rate is a comparison of two quantities with different units like meter per seconds, kilometer per hour, people per year. Is that important? There is only one question in your book asking whether the result is ratio or rate, so it is important. How can we find ratio or rate of change? We will find rate of change or ratio by just using the previous techniques that we already studied in slope topic. If the question is asking about slope, rate of change, and 2 points are given, then we will use y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 formula. If instead of 2 points an angle given, the slope, the rate of change will be tangent theta. The steps are same, ways are same. We just need to identify the points in the question, because the questions will not give us the points explicitly. We will be identifying what the points are. So what are the steps of solving rate of change questions? We will face, in this topic, we will face real life questions, real life problems, word problems. The first step is identifying the points. As I said, the points will not be given directly. It will be hidden inside the question, so we will identify the points. The second step, we will identify the rate of change by using these 2 points, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, the slope formula. If necessary, we will write the equation by using slope point form, y minus y1 equals m, x minus x1. So, for these real world problems, we will identify points if we know what x represents and what y represents. So, what is x, what is y in the real world problems? X represents the time. So whenever you see time and information about the time, like seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, years, then it represents x. And y represents the value, like population, equipment, price. So whenever you see these keywords, you will know that the question is talking about y value. Okay, so here are the keywords for you to understand what's x, what's y. X is represented by time, y is represented by the value. So let's take a look at the problem and see how questions may come in exam. It's a question in your book. The population of a city was 3,687,000 in the year 1990 and 4,042,000 in the year 2000. What's the rate of change of the population? So what does rate of change mean? Rate of change means slope. How do you find the slope? You find the slope by this formula if 2 points are given. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So what is your y2, y1? What is your x2, x1? So you need 2 points. First, you need x1, y1 and x2, y2. And x2, y2. You need 2 points to write this formula, to use that formula to find the slope. Let's find some points. So remember that information. X represents time, y represents value. Let's take a look at the question again. Here I have year 1990. It's talking about the time. And the year 2000. It's talking about the time. So those two will be our x values. If you consider the first one as x1, the second one will be your x2. Okay, what about the y values? So the value, population or equipment or price represented by the value. So we are talking about the population, so it will be our y value. So if 1990 is the first x value, its corresponding y value will be first y value. If this is our x2, its corresponding y value will be our y2. So write the points, x1, y1. 1990, comma, 3 million something is the y value. For the other point, 2000 and 4 million something will be the y value. So I got the points. Now I can easily find my slope, rate of change. So my rate of change will be y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. 4 million something minus 3 million something divided by x2 minus x1. 2000 minus 1990. Type this in the calculator. When you type this in the calculator, make sure that you are using bracket at the top, bracket at the top, at the bottom, otherwise you will make a mistake. If you type this all at once in the calculator, make sure you have parentheses at the top and at the bottom. So the result will be 35,500. So that's your rate of change, that's your slope. We answered the first part of the question. The second part, what would the population of the city be at 2010? So what is given? A time is given. What does time represent? It represents x. I know x. What is missing? What would the population be? What does population represent? It represents y. Y is missing. X is given, y is missing. In order to find y, if the x is given, I need an equation. How do I write the equation? I write the equation by using slope point form. Part B. You can use y minus y1 equals m, x minus x1. You know the slope, you know points, so you can apply the formula. Y minus, pick a point, either this or this, it doesn't matter which one you picked. Y minus, let me use the first point, 3,687,000 equals m, which I got as 35,500 in a bracket, x minus x1, 1990. Let's simplify this a bit. Y is equal to, let's distribute this bracket, 35,500 x, 35,500 multiplied by 1990 plus this number will be moved to the other side. Let's calculate this with the calculator. It's going to be 66,958, 66,958,000. I got my equation. That's not it. The question was asking about the population, the y value, when x value is given as 2010. So all you need to do is replace your x with 2010. So 35,500 multiplied by 2010 minus this number will give you the y value, which will be 4,397,000. Numbers are pretty big. Make sure that you don't make any typing mistake in the calculator. Be careful about the number of zeros that you have. The steps are like this. First, the question will be a real world problem. You should identify your points by knowing that time represents x, value represents y. And then by using y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 formula, find your rate of change slope. And then, if necessary, you write the equation by using slope point form. You already know a slope, you already know a point, just insert the information and substitute the given, you'll find the unknown. Okay, that's the first question about rate of change in the book. And there are related ministry questions. Another question, it's a different type, it's also in the book. The question is, a man looks at the plane in the sky at a horizontal distance of 600 meters. There's a man looking at the sky with horizontal distance 600 meters with an inclination angle of 60 degree. I know an angle now. I don't have a point, I have an angle. So if I have an angle, how do you find the slope? Remember, if angle is given, then slope is tangent of the given angle. Tangent theta will be our slope. First part A. It's asking about slope. You know what slope is. Slope represents tangent theta. Your theta is given as 60 degree. So what is tangent 60 degree? Tangent 60 degree will be square root of 3. Alright, part B. What is it asking? Is it ratio or rate of change? That's what I was talking about. There's only this question in the book asking about whether the result is rate of change, ratio or rate of change. Let's take a look at the units. What are we dealing with here? We are dealing with the distance. We have a horizontal distance. We will have a vertical distance. So since we are talking about the distance, in the same question we are talking about the same units. Meter here, meter here. Meter will cancel each other, so we won't have a unit at the end. So there is no unit. There is no unit because for both height and the width, I mean horizontal distance and the vertical distance, we are talking about the distance. Distance has the same unit. It's not like population and the time or meter distance and the time. We are just talking about distance for both. So meters will cancel each other. There will be no unit at the end. If there is no unit, it's considered to be ratio. Okay, there is only one question in the book about this, asking about this difference. C. What is C asking about? What's the altitude? What does altitude means? Altitude means height. It's asking about the height. We solved a similar question actually in slope topic, I think. We need to know the height. So you have an angle, you have horizontal distance, you don't have a vertical distance, and you know what tangent is. You know what tangent is. Tangent is opposite over adjacent, and your opposite is missing, let's say h. Your adjacent is given as 600 meters. What is your tangent theta? It is tangent 60 degree. What is tangent 60 degree? Square root of 3. Square root of 3 is h over 600 meter. You need h alone. Cross multiply. H is equal to 600 square root 3 meter. So I got my altitude. That's it. Let's continue with another type of question. The steps are same, but we won't be talking about the time and the value here. An exercise question. Water boils at 100 Celsius degree, 212 Fahrenheit degree, and freezes at 0 Celsius and 32 Fahrenheit degree. Do you see any time here or any value? No time is given, no value. So it doesn't matter which one is x, which one is y. It's up to you. If you say my Celsius is x, let's say this is x1, Fahrenheit is y. Celsius is x2, 32 Fahrenheit is y2, or vice versa. You can say Celsius is y, Fahrenheit is x. It's up to you, since we don't talk about x, so it doesn't matter which one is x, which one is y. So you got your x1, y1, x2, y2. Do we need these points? Let's read the question and understand what we need. First part, find the linear equation. Of course, I need a point because I need an equation. If I need an equation, I will be using y minus y1 equals x minus x1 slope point form. In order to do so, we should know what our slope is, what our point is. So write the points first. The first point is 100 to 112. Second point is 0, 30, 2. You can write the units here, not confuse. Alright, and I need a slope, so y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1, so 212 minus 32 divided by x2 100 minus 0, which will give us 9/5. So we got our slope. Now write the equation. You can either use this formula, y minus, this point seems easier, 32 equals 9/5, x minus x1, 0, then y is equal to 9/5 times x, 9/5x, 9/5 times 0, 0, and bring 32 to the other side. Or I usually prefer this way. Let me show you. We have 2 points, one of which represents y-intercept. X is 0, I have y-intercept. If I know the y-intercept and the slope, I can use slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. Instead of using slope point form, this formula, I can use mx plus b formula. I can directly find my equation, y equals m, which is 9/5, x plus b, which is given as 32. I can save time if I can identify this as a y-intercept. I can find y equation right away. It's up to you. If it doesn't come to your mind, you can use this. Okay, I got the equation. The question was asking me to find the equation that gives us the relation between Celsius and Fahrenheit. So let's change this x and y values to Celsius and Fahrenheit. What did I use y for? I use y for Fahrenheit. So F equals 9/5x. I used x as Celsius. C plus 32. So that's my answer for the first part. Okay, you can find the relation between Fahrenheit and Celsius by doing this, or you can remember this from physics. If you do so, you don't need this information. You can directly answer the question if you remember this from physics lesson. Second part, convert 72 Fahrenheit to Celsius. So what do? I know what Fahrenheit is, the value of Fahrenheit is, it says 72. I don't know what Celsius is. So I will insert 72 for F, isolate C. So what is C when I isolate? I won't solve this question in a long way. You can do the calculations, can you? Let me do it, just in case. Okay, 72. Bring 32 to the other side. Minus 32 equals 9 over 5c. 72 minus 32 is 40. 40 equals 9 over 5c. I need c alone, so let's do cross multiplication. 5 times 40, 200 equals 9c. I need c alone. Divide both sides by 9. So c is going to be 200 divided by 9. Okay, that's it. The most of the steps are about simplification, right? If you know the way, the first step is only about the way. The rest is about simplification. See, the first step is about the topic that you just learned. The rest is about simplifying. Okay, that was an exercise question in the book. Another type of question, another exercise question in the book. Let's read the question. A small business purchases a piece of equipment for 875,000 dinars. After 5 years, the equipment will be outdated, having no value. The first part of the question, A, is asking about an equation giving the value y of the equipment in terms of x in 5 years. So in order to write the equation, you should know what the points are, what the slope is, right? So let's find the points. Let's figure the points out. So the first information, a small business purchases a piece of equipment for 875,000 dinars. So in this sentence, what does this number represent? It is a price. What does price represent? Price represents y, right? Let's say this is y1. What is its x1? At the time of the purchase, how many years passes at the time of the purchase? No time passes, so we consider x as 0 because it's the time of the purchase. There is no time passes, so time is 0. So the first point is 0, 875,000. Second point, after 5 years, it gives you the time. Time is given. So time represents x. So let's say this is x2. After 5 years, the equipment will be outdated, having no value. What does having no value mean? No price, no value. So no y value, which means your y2 is 0. There is no value. Your y is 0. So the second point is 5, 0. Okay, I got my points. The rest is easy. After you identify the given information, find your slope, rate of change. Your rate of change is y2 minus y1, 875,000 minus 0 divided by 0 minus 5, which is a negative number, negative 175,000. That's your slope, rate of change. I can write my equation by either using first way, y minus y1 equals m, x minus x1, or second way, I know my y-intercept, so I can use y equals mx plus b formula. So y is equal to, I prefer this one seems better for me. Y is m, which I found as negative 175,000, x plus b, my y-intercept is, no, not this, sorry. If x is 0, it's the y-intercept. My y-intercept is 0, 875,000. So this is my equation. I answered the first part of the question. I got the equation. Second part of the question, it is asking about the value when the after 2 years. So I know x, I don't know y, right? Value is represented by y, time is represented by x. So x is given, y is missing. So in this equation, all you need to do is insert 2 for x. Pretty simple. Part B. You will just insert 2 for x. Y equals, y is missing, negative 175,000 multiplied by x, which is given in the question as 2, plus 875,000. Use your calculator, type this, and you will find 525,000. So that's your value. We answered the second part. The last part, when will the value of the equipment be 175,000 dinars? Okay. When? What does when mean? It's asking about the time. What does time represent? It represents x. So x is missing. When the price is given, what does price represent? Price represents y. Y is given, x is missing. It's the opposite. We still use the same equation to find the x value when y is given. Okay, last part, C. Use the same equation. I know the y value, which is given as 175,000. 175,000 equals negative 175,000 multiplied by x, x is unknown now, plus 875,000. So bring 875,000 to the other side, divide both sides by negative 175, you'll isolate your x. I won't simplify this question, you can do this. So when you simplify, when you isolate x, you're going to have 4. So after 4 years, your price of the value will be 175,000 dinars. Okay. So no matter what your question is, you are always finding the points, finding the slope, writing the equation. Those 3 steps are same for every question. You do this always, and depending on the given information, you use your equation. You either insert the given x value or given y value. Find unknown. Last question. Okay, another question from your book, and it's a ministry question. The purchase price of new machine is 12,500,000 dinars. Its value will decrease by 850,000 dinars each year. So let's identify the given information before we read the first part of the question. The purchase of the new price. This is the price. What does price represent? Price represents y value. I know the y. And what is the x? At the time of the purchase, there is no time passes. X is considered to be 0, right? So I know my point. 0, comma 12,500,000 dinars. This is my point. What is the second information about? It's after this point. Its value will decrease by. What does decrease by mean? If you see decrease by or increase by, then it's these keywords represent slope. Okay, whenever you see increase by, decrease by, there are such ministry questions. You'll understand that it's talking about the slope. There's a change. There's a rate of change. It's talking about the slope. So your slope is given, m is given. But since it says decrease by, your slope is considered to be negative. Okay, you'll use a negative sign in front. So now what do I know? I know a point. I know my slope. negative since there is decrease, 850,000. Then what can I do? I should write the equation. It says write the linear model. First part, we are writing the equation. So you either can use y minus y1 equals mx minus x1 slope point form, because you know the slope, you know the point, you can use this. Or I prefer the second one, you use y equals mx plus b when y-intercept is given. So y equals m negative 850,000 x plus y-intercept is 12,500,000. So that's my equation. I got the equation. This is what the question was asking. I can change this y and x to v because value y is represented by v and x is represented by t. I change y to v, x to t. This is what the question says. So v equals negative 850,000 t plus 12,500,000. Okay, the numbers are pretty big. Please be careful about not making any typing mistake. I got the first part. The second part, find the value after 3 years. Find the value. What is value? Value means y. After 3 years, what does this mean? It gives us the time, so it says our x is 3. I know x, I don't know y, so just replace your x with our t. Time means t means 3. You know, in the last part, in part b, you don't know what your value is, you don't know what your v is. V is unknown, but you know the rest. T multiplied by t, which is 3, plus 12,500,000. So type this in the calculator. You will find your value as 9,950,000. Okay, the numbers are pretty annoying, I know, but it's not hard. Once you get the idea, it is pretty simple actually. In every question you identify your points, if there is any slope. If there is no slope, find the slope. If there is already slope, find your equation and insert the given information. Alright? Okay, last question is for you. I am not going to solve it. 2023 ministry question. The purchase of the new machine, again, your point, your x value is 0 because at the time of the purchase there is no time passes, so x is 0, time is 0. And the value is given, the price is given, it represents your y, which is 22,850,000. You know the point. What else do you know? After this point, read the second sentence. Its value will decrease by, again, there is decrease by, which means slope. So your slope, since there is decrease, negative 900,000. After how many years? By using these two information, you will write your equation. Y equals, you can use mx plus b and find your equation like we did in the previous question. You find your equation like this. In this equation, you will insert the given. What is given? After how many years? So x is missing. The price will become this. So price is given. Y is given. You insert the given y value and isolate the x. So I won't solve the question. You know the way. I showed you the way. You just follow through the steps. Alright? So that's it for this topic. Bye for now.